One of the beautiful things of coming to know Jesus Christ is the fact that he gives you this kind of clear vision into the final reality of all of humanity, or the final end of all of humanity. And he proclaims with this striking clarity not to confuse or lead us sheep astray, or the whole human race for that matter. And to put this verse into context, this is the last teaching before Christ is crucified. And here the Christ is teaching about the end of all time, or his second coming. And he says these words. He says, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit upon his glorious throne. And all nations will be assembled before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats." And when we listen to the Gospels as Christians or Catholics, or even any person who listens to them in general, it primarily depends on our disposition. And disposition is how we reside within ourselves, as we use our immaterial faculties, which are our intellect and will, which are these real properties or powers of our soul, and also those composed of our body, which synthesize with the soul, such as our sight, our touch, hearing, smell, and taste. And this is why the church has the lit candles around the altar, around the Word of God, the golden tabernacle, the crucifixion of Christ on the wall, the decorations in the sanctuary, and why Christ instituted the most holy Eucharist. These are all there to communicate to our senses and to our very souls that something sacred is happening, that God is truly present in his Word, that he's truly present in the Holy Eucharist, that he's truly present in the place of the liturgy. But once again, to sense this or understand it, it requires a proper disposition, how we reside within ourselves. And within every person's disposition, there are two primary realities that take place. There's this active potential, and also there's this passive potential. And first, there has to be within us this passive potential at every Mass, where one allows the Word of God to act on us. For in every most holy Mass, God acts upon us. And if we're well disposed through a sincere heart that loves him above all things, which prays and works throughout the week for the glory of God alone, or we are truly sorry for any faults or failures we had throughout the week, or maybe in our whole lives long, in this way, our soul is more receptive to the action of Christ. In one sense, our heart is not hard, and we are ready to receive Christ's instruction or allow our hearts to be changed by him. But if we're poorly disposed, the action of Christ in liturgy will be difficult or even painful because we're not prepared to receive him. Our hearts are hard, our minds are far from him. We're on less important things than serving Christ, the King of the universe. And this passive potency is one which has this capacity to undergo some form of change. And if we look at the definition of time according to Aristotle, it just simply states it's the measure of change. And when we think about our whole lives long and ask the questions, how will I change to be ready for the day described by Christ? The thing that is essential is to allow Christ to act on us in the sacraments and through his holy word in a constant manner. This is one of the reasons why the Mass is obligatory, because we forget so easily, and the Word of God is so essential to guide us our whole lives long. especially if we desire to respond to the demands of that upward calling to holiness, where the mercy of God is necessary to rise from sins, and the grace of God is necessary to leave them behind. This is why St. Paul mentions act on this word. If all you do is listen to it, you are deceiving yourselves. But the passive aspect must come first. For we really deceive ourselves if we don't listen to the word of God or don't see the Eucharist as essential for our salvation. For we all need Christ's instruction and also his strength constantly. And if we think about it mathematically, if we go to Mass every week, you will hear the instructions of Christ 52 times a year. And you grow and change week by week, year by year, as you move toward that day that Christ spoke about so clearly. And in this way, you will open yourself up to be changed by Christ, sanctified by Christ, and you are continually being transformed by him through this constant encounter. And you will become a living tabernacle where God's truth and love radiate from you, and where you will become a good and holy sheep, prepared for that day whenever it arrives.